Okay, so in this lesson we're going to cover while loops in Python. So in order to get started, let's go ahead and create a new text document and call that, I don't know why that keeps, there we go. And let's call it lesson 07. We'll just use this for a bunch of different stuff. And let's go over the anatomy of a while loop. I'm going to start with a number, and I'm going to set that equal to an integer input. And I guess before we do that, it's probably a good idea to name this .py, so it's a Python file, and also drag it into Notebook. It's kind of hard to edit it if it's not in your editor. So let's go again. Number, and we're going to set that equal to an int input. So we're going to get an integer somehow here, and let's just go, please enter a number for the prompt. And now I want to set up a while loop. So while, pretty simple. Let's say while number is greater than 0. What I want to do is print the last digit in the number. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to write a program that prints out each of the digits of a number onto a separate line. So I'm basically printing the number vertically. So I'm going to say print number, and the way we get the last digit is by returning modulus 10. So if you think about an integer, if you take an integer and you divide it by 10 and it doesn't go in evenly, the remainder is going to be whatever that digit is on the right. So let's do that. And then the other thing that you're going to know about while loops is that they are, instead of going for a set number of times, it's going to simply run as long as a certain condition is true. So it's a lot simpler to set up initially than a for loop. But the thing is, all of the iteration and all of the subsequent conditioning that you put inside of your while loop is a bit more manual than what you would do with a for loop. The format for a for loop is kind of already set out. But with the while loop, it's kind of free form, and it gives you a lot more control over what you do and how you do it. So I can do a lot of different things here. Like for instance, if for my iteration here, I want to divide number by 10. And so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to just keep dividing it by 10 until it is down to 0. And if I keep doing this, by default, if you divide by something, Python is automatically going to convert to double, and I'll get a double value here. So this will actually go on virtually forever. So what I want to do here is I want to just, instead of doing this, I want to set number equal to itself, divided by 10, of course, kind of the same thing, but this time I want to cast it into an int, so that it doesn't give me any problems later. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm going to, my modulus 10 returns the last digit on the right. So it's the last digit on the right of the number. And I'll show you how that works in just one second. And you need to remember that dividing by 10 shaves off the last digit on the right. So just remember that, and that should run pretty well for us. And then I can, let's use Python, and it didn't like int put, so we'll try that one more time. All right, let's enter a number. Let's just do this, and if you can see 654321, and I'm printing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that not only does it print it vertically, but it prints it kind of in reverse order. Because again, I take this modulus 10, right? And the remainder that's left over when I do modulus 10 is going to be 1. So I print 1. At that point, I'm left with just a 65,432. Number on the right is going to be a 2. I do modulus 10. I get that 2 back. And the same thing. And each time that loop's running, I'm also dividing this number by 10. So each time one of these digits is going away as well. So I'm just, each time the loop runs, I'm taking that digit to the right and I'm printing it out, and then I'm getting rid of it and moving on to the next loop. So then I'll print this one out, get rid of that, move on to the next loop. So that's what all this is doing in here. So that's all well and good, but it's a little bit too easy for us. It's not quite cool enough. So we're going to try to step it up a little bit here. Let's take this, what we learned here, and let's create a program that actually counts the number of digits that are in a number. So I'm going to still have an input number, and I'm still going to have a pretty similar while loop, but I'm going to get rid of most of this stuff, and I'm going to add a couple of extra variables. So let's go with digits, variable called digits, and that's going to hold the number of digits that's in my number, and then I'm going to set up my while loop. So I'm going to say while number is greater than 0, that's still going to be what we're doing. I'm going to add 1 to the value of digits. So basically I'm starting, as long as number is greater than 0, I'm going to add 1 for the digits, because that's going to mean that I still have a digit left. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to set num equal again to itself. I could just say num divided by equals 10, but as you know, that can result in an automatic, it'll turn it into float data, and I want to keep it integer. So I'm going to say num equals to itself divided by 10, and then I'm just going to cast that into an int. To make sure it stays integer, I do not want any float data in here. So once that goes, I can print this. I can say print, and let's say there are, I'll put a space there, and then I'll say digits, and number. So let's go ahead and try that out. And I keep doing input, I don't know why. So let's put in a number. And let's say, oops, I keep putting num, and I want to say number here. Let's try that again. 3, 2, 1, and so I get the right number back. There are 6 digits in the number that I put in, but I'm getting back a 0 here. And the reason is because this loop requires number to get down to 0 in order to run properly. So when I go here to print number, there's nothing to print because it's already down to 0. So what I want to do here is I want to set num. I want to create a new number value basically and set it equal to the value of number. So it starts at the same value as number, but it's really just a placeholder for that number that I'm going to get down to 0 eventually. So I can just say while, and these I can just change to num. And I'll do that again. There are 6 digits in, and then I have the correct number on the right over here. So those are the basics on how you sort of manipulate numerical data using a while loop. And we're going to do lots more stuff with loops and add layers and layers on top of this later. But for now, that's all we need to get started on that portion of the labs. And on the next video, we're going to go over manipulating strings with loops.